Welcome, everybody. Welcome, fellow patriots. Welcome, fellow deplorables. Welcome, all you dregs of society, all you sycophants, all you stinkos, all you hateful people who would honor America. You know, you're always welcome here. This is your home. This is the Conservative Commandos radio show. I'm Rick Trader, coming to you from the studios of the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, and joining me as my co-host, as he does twice a week, is my good friend, George Landreth. George is the president and CEO of Frontiers of Freedom. And George, welcome back to Conservative Commandos.
It's great to be here. This is the place to be.
Well, George, I knew this was going to happen. Everybody in America should have known this was going to happen. But during the first week of his presidency, Joe O'Biden, as I call him, and I call him O'Biden because when you look at what he's done in his first week, when you look at his cabinet picks, I mean, there's very little difference between the O'Biden administration and the Obama administration. But George, these executive orders are coming like snowflakes in a blizzard.
Oh, they indeed are. I mean, it's interesting. Just to put it into perspective, on the first day, or first 3 days, Biden had 19 executive orders. Obama had 5, which was still a lot. To put that in perspective, Bush had 0, Clinton had 1, and Trump had 1. So it gives you an idea how high that is. It's like off the charts high. And then it gets worse. So you go to the first week in office, and he's got over 30. Clinton had 2, Bush had 2, Obama had 5, Trump had 4.
Yeah, the imperial president, isn't that what they called Trump, the imperial president?
Yeah.
Had only 4 executive orders compared to 30, over 30 for Joe O'Biden.
Well, and the funny thing is we have Joe Biden on tape just a matter of like 2 months ago or whatever. He's being interviewed by George Stephanopoulos. In fact, we've got the tape queued up, so we should probably have our producer put it up on it. But I'll just set it up this way. He basically says that ruling by executive order is anti-democratic and something that only a dictator would do. And then he turns around and does this.
Well, then I guess.
But don't trust me. Let's watch the tape.
Well, George, let me just say this. I guess then we know who he is. And here's that tape.
No, well, I got to get the votes. That's why, the one thing that I have this strange notion. We are a democracy. Some of my Republican friends and some of my Democratic friends even occasionally say, well, if you can't get the votes by executive order, you're going to do something. Things you can't do by executive order unless you're a dictator. We're a democracy. We need consensus.
Well, George, there is Joe Biden talking about leading by dictatorship, and his executive orders, the first week, over 30 executive orders. Interestingly, George, there's another tape that has surfaced of Joe Biden saying, I don't know what I'm signing. And there's a voice behind him that says, just sign it. I mean, I don't know who that other voice was. We know it was O'Biden who says, I don't know what I'm signing. Well, just another case of Joe's senility, or were these things just all prepared for him? And it's kind of scary when a guy in the White House does not know what he's signing. That's scary as hell, George Landreth.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. It's crazy. Things like, on his first day in office, he swore up and down that he wasn't going to get rid of fracking, that he wasn't going to be anti-energy. He promised everyone that. And then what does he do on his first day? He gets rid of the Keystone Pipeline. He shuts down, oil exploration or leases and so forth. It's just kind of like, and then I thought was funny is, and then the media goes along with him and lies for him. For example, he said he wanted to repeal the Trump ban on transgenders serving the military. And the funny thing is, I thought, I don't recall that being the case. And I remember doing some, research on that, and just looked up real quick a military recruiting memo. And it said, this is from 2019, so this is when Trump was president. And the recruiting memo said, nothing in the new policy will prevent transgender persons who meet all standards from serving. It does not require transgender service members to conceal their identity. It said the services will continue to recruit and assess transgender applicants who meet all applicable standards, holding the same physical and mental standards associated with their biological gender. And then basically it says, and oh, by the way, we won't pay for your gender reassignment surgery.
Oh, there you go. Boom. That's what Joe Biden's going to do.
In other words,
taxpayer-funded money to make somebody who's a male suddenly female, and I guess
we got to pay for that.
I don't know. I don't know.
And the rationale, according to the Rand Corporation, for all of this is because it boosts soldiers' confidence. So I thought of a couple things that might boost confidence. So, for example, as a kid, I always felt like my ears stuck out too far. So I'd be more confident if they'd pay for me to get my ears pinned back. Or I got this fat lip down here because I fell 3 times in about 3 weeks as a kid and busted it open. And so my mom carted me off to the emergency room and I got stitches. And the 3rd time, the doctor said, "Ma'am, there's really nothing left for me to stitch together here. It's just kind of like hamburger." And so when I was a kid, I've kind of grown into it. But when I was a kid, it was huge. So I think the military to have, or how about the guy who lived in poverty?
George, wait a minute. Is it the job of the service to make people feel better about who they are?
Well, that's my point.
Not the job of the military. The job of the military is to protect the United States of America from our enemies.
Yeah, and we provide medical services to them so they can do that job, but it's not there to fix all the past issues. That's what's crazy. I mean, can you imagine me joining the military and then saying, "Oh yeah, I need to fix my lip here. I need some surgery to fix that."
Those issues should be treated by private physicians.
Right.
George,
now,
I want to go into the military so I can get fixed.
Yeah.
No.
If my face gets blown off by an IUD bomb, sure, the military is going to put my face back together for me.
Yes.
But I'm talking about just elective plastic surgery. I'm unhappy with, it's just like, that's crazy.
Well, I don't know, George. I always wished my nose was a little smaller. I guess I should have went into the military.
Yeah.
And said, "Hey, help me with my self-esteem by giving me a nose job."
I'd be a better soldier with a nose job. Exactly.
Yeah, really. Wow.
Way to go, Joe.
Way to go, Joe. Way to go, Joe. But it's kind of scary. But, George, let's take a little short break because we got 3 great guests joining us. And on the other side, let's talk about exactly what was in these executive orders that Joe Biden has signed. Because, again, it's exactly what we warned. That we warned ad nauseum what would happen in a Biden administration. Especially if he got both houses, the Senate and the House of Representatives. But it's not even taking that. He's just going crazy down this road of executive orders. But you are listening to and watching the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landreth and yours truly, Rick Trader. And guess what? Today's show, like every one of our shows, is brought to you by the First Amendment and protected by the Second. George and I'll be right back right after this.
Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Are your deductibles too high? Or are you completely uninsured? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Healthcare Help Desk can help you now when people need help the most. Health insurance laws and rules have changed. If you have Obamacare, are uninsured, or your premiums are too high, call Healthcare Help Desk. It's free. New healthcare plans are available, and you may qualify for dental coverage and lower copays and deductibles. Make the free call now. Top quality coverage at the lowest prices anywhere. You may be paying too much and not even know it. In these troubled times, healthcare is more important than ever. Don't let another day go by without health insurance. Policies are being offered with very low copays and deductibles. So if you're uninsured, underinsured, or paying too much, call Healthcare Help Desk. Learn about your options before it's too late.
Call 800-964-1055. 800-964-1055.
Attention Medicare recipients and anyone turning 65. Medicare has approved new benefits not included with original Medicare and older Medicare Advantage plans. You may not be getting all of the benefits you're entitled to. These new Medicare Advantage plans may have many free new benefits including in-home aids, telephone appointments with your doctors, home-delivered meals and prescriptions. These benefits may be available and it's a free call to enroll. The easiest way to enroll is to call the Medicare Benefits Line, a free non-government service. The new plans may also offer free eyeglasses, free hearing aids, free wellness visits, and gym memberships. Call the Medicare Benefits Line now. It's easy. Find out if you're eligible for new benefits like meal and prescription delivery, in-home aids, and telemedicine. Some plans may have a $0 monthly premium or zero copays for big out-of-pocket savings.
Call 800-691-1655. 800-691-1655.
Medicare Benefits Line is not connected with or endorsed by any government agency or the federal Medicare program.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions now.
Call 800-447-7570. 800-447-7570.
Once again, we want to welcome you back to the Conservative Commandos radio show with George Landreth and yours truly, Rick Trader. And, you know, the hallmark of our show is the great guests that we try to bring you here on Conservative Commandos. But we also like to hear from our audience out there. So if you'd like to recommend somebody that you think would be a great guest for the Conservative Commandos, we'd love to hear from you. Maybe you think you'd like to be a great guest, and certainly would love to hear from you. And there's a great way to do that. Just send us an email, auntv@yahoo.com, auntv@yahoo.com. My other hat of being President and CEO of AUN TV. I read all those emails. I really do. The good ones and the bad ones. I would say it's 9 good for every 1 bad, but we'd love to hear from you either way. Again, that email address is auntv@yahoo.com, auntv@yahoo.com. And George, who are our guests for today?
Well, we've got a good lineup. We're going to start off with Steve Milloy. He is the founder of junkscience.com. He was also on the transition team for President Trump for the EPA back in 2017 when President Trump had just won election. We'll talk with him, obviously, about some of this crazy stuff Joe Biden's doing and how harmful it is to our country, our economy, and how it will actually do nothing for the environment. They like to pretend that you're getting something in return. The problem is they're not. China's getting something in return. Russia's getting something in return. We're not.
Hey, George, funny thing, it's great to have Steve on again, but I was watching a show last night on the ice ages 100,000 years ago, and they were talking about ice ages come about every 100,000 years, last about 10,000 years. They were blaming climate change. Now, 100,000 years ago, I wonder what they were driving. How were they heating their home 100,000 years ago that ended that last ice age?
It was those dang cavemen who discovered fire and started, building campfires to cook their mastodon
there must have been a lot of cavemen. A lot of cavemen.
Cooking a lot of mastodon steaks.
Absolutely. But it's going to be great to have Steve on again.
Absolutely. And our next guest will be Dan Gainor. He, of course, is with the Media Research Center. And we're going to talk with Dan about what the media is doing. And that's always interesting. And the media is so incredibly just disingenuous and dishonest. And Dan always brings us some interesting ways to demonstrate that, so we don't have to just I know we all know it, but I think it's helpful to know why.
George, it is so funny watching how the media is so swooning over Biden and the difference how they're treating Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Just incredible. Again, great to have
like I said, they're nothing if not lying sacks of rotting fecal matter.
Wow, there it goes. Yep. Once a show.
Yeah.
George,
So
tell us what you really think about him. Lying sacks
yeah,
of writing.
I'll try not to hold back anymore.
All right. Please.
And then our final guest is going to be Tom Donelson, who is he's the host of the Donelson Files program. He's also the president of America's PAC, which is a political action committee that's designed to help elect conservatives. And he must be doing something right because Google's banned them, and they only seem to ban people who are up to good. So anyhow,
well, we know that firsthand experience. George, during our show, we always say for rebroadcasts of our show, check out our website. Well, what we generally do is we upload episodes of our TV show up onto YouTube. We put a link to them on our website, and boom, there you are. Guess what? YouTube has been knocking down every single one of our shows. In fact, the show that you and I did last week, I don't know what we said that was so terrible, but guess what? That went down within a day. They knocked that show down within a day. So, and then, in the past, conservative commandos, we were banned on Facebook, and I can't tell you how many times I've been in Facebook jail, but so Tom Donelson is in with some very good company, and we are also in some very good company with Tom.
No, you're right. It lets you know that you're accomplishing something if somebody else, they say if someone wants to silence you, it means they're admitting that your ideas and your intellect and your ability to articulate your ideas is superior to their abilities. And so I would just argue that's what Twitter's, the left is admitting. They're throwing up their hands and they're saying, we surrender. We can't compete with you on the, on the battlefield of ideas. So we're just going to silence you. That's what they're saying.
Indeed. Well, George, in the opening segment, we talked about Joe Biden and his executive orders, and let's just discuss a few of them. The one I really want to start out talking about is to rejoin the Paris Climate Agreement. And I always thought it was a mistake that this treaty, as it is, was not brought up in the Senate while we had control of the Senate. Well, Donald Trump was still in office, that the Senate should have voted for this thing and knocked it down once and for all.
No, I agree.
Here it's up again.
The Obama administration took the position that it's not a treaty unless we say it's a treaty. That's not how the founders meant it. They used the word treaty as it was commonly understood, which was an agreement between two countries that is formally, or more countries, two or more, that is formally agreed upon. It didn't have to have the word. It didn't have to have the word treaty in it.
Well, they should have put the word treaty in it and knocked the damn thing down.
Yeah, but they should have. But the reality is the first issue there is that the Biden administration, or back then it's the Obama administration, acted in a way that was extra constitutional, outside the parameters of the Constitution. They actually had an obligation if they were going to sign an agreement or an accord that had the effect of a treaty, then it's a treaty. That's if in fact he doesn't have to submit it for signature, if he doesn't call it a treaty, then he can just sign treaties however he wants, whenever he wants, and without Congress's check and balance. And that was obviously not the founders' intent. So it's an example of the left not caring two hoots what the Constitution says. And when they say they do, they're lying.
Yeah. Let's also, we talked about the Keystone XL pipeline. Everybody knows what that's about. But he's also going to stop energy leasing in ANWR in Alaska. And I'll tell you why this is so vital. This is so important, George, that the idea of leasing ANWR is there's untold amounts of oil there. And ANWR is I won't call it a wasteland. It's a wilderness. I mean, there's nothing there. And the way they do it, and when they drill today for gas and oil, it's so much different than it was in years past where you had all these oil wells spread all over the countryside. Well, today when they drill for gas or oil, they'll have one main site and they'll drill down vertically and then they'll drill horizontally. So one site, maybe the size of a football field, would replace acres and acres of oil derricks. Okay? Now, where ANWR is so vital, not just in the obvious, but the Alaskan pipeline, okay, its volume was down to about 33% capacity going through that pipeline. When it reaches 28%, guess what? They got to shut it down. Because when you get below 28%, you're not going to have enough oil pressure going through that line to move the oil. So that is cutting off the great oil deposits of Alaska, period and total. And that's one of the really scary things about ANWR. If he shuts off oil production coming out of ANWR, guess what? We lose the Alaskan pipeline. We lose all oil coming out of Alaska.
Well, and energy independence has been very helpful. It keeps us out of war. We don't have to get involved in every little squabble in the Middle East. Mm-hmm. It also puts pressure on places like China and Russia. And so, Russia could work a lot more mischief if the price of gasoline were $4 or $5 a gallon. They'd be in Fat City then. But they're struggling, and it's, I think, helpful to have people who are that destructive when it comes to the world's stability and peace, to have them scrambling. And so it's just the people who benefit, interestingly enough, are the Chinese and the Russians.
Well, another one of Joe Biden's, I must call him George Biden. Another one of Joe Biden's executive orders was stopping the construction of the border wall. Again, you could have foreseen that happening. Mm-hmm. In fact, that big, beautiful border wall is now going to have big, beautiful gates in it with great big welcome signs. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to see these mass migrations coming out of South and Central America, George.
Which makes lots of sense when you've got a world pandemic and no way to prove whether these people have
go to church. You can't have more than 10 people go to church. But
hundreds of thousands of people who have the disease can come here. And of course, when you have high unemployment, it's a great idea to bring in people who also are unemployed.
And they're coming here. That's what they're coming for. They're coming for the economic advantage of being in the United States. But George, there was one piece of good news. The Attorney General of Texas has went to court and has stopped
the moratorium on the sending deportations, because he was going to postpone or put a moratorium on that. So it's amazing that it's frustrating to watch what's happening. Even like with the impeachment of Donald Trump, and now a Senate trial after he's left office. And it got me to thinking, is it too late to impeach people like George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, James Madison, James Monroe, Andrew Jackson, Martin Van... Well, we can get to him too. I was just going to name all of the presidents who owned slaves. Even Ulysses S. Grant owned slaves.
George, don't give him the idea.
Okay.
I mean, I think by talking about it, you give him the idea, and you'll have some idiot out there
who wants to do it. Yeah, I was being sarcastic in case our...
Maxine Waters will want to do that, all right?
But you make a good point about Barack Obama, because he corrupted our government. He weaponized it against our American citizens that he deemed his political adversaries. He gave billions of dollars in cash to the number one state sponsor of terrorism. He lied to the public repeatedly, knowing it was a lie, so that he could get his Obamacare passed. He spied on political adversaries. He spied on the media. His administration lied repeatedly to get those warrants because the facts didn't warrant the warrants. So they lied to FISA courts, committing perjury as government officials. So I don't know. That sounds all impeachable to me. And so let's go ahead and take care of Barack Obama. He's number one on my list.
I'm all for that. Let's go after him. Another one of his executive orders require mass distancing on all federal property by federal workers. Require masks at airport and other modes of transportation. They're doubling down on this, George, and I've said ad nauseum since the beginning. I really question whether masks work at all, and I'll tell you where I'm coming from. I've seen studies that 90% of the people that get the Wuhan flu, call it what you want, I call it the Wuhan flu, but 90% of those people wear masks either sometimes or all the time. Yeah. So if they're that effective, how come such a great percent of people that wear them get it?
It makes sense.
I think there's more to be said for contact, hand sanitizing. I think that's more important.
Mm-hmm.
I think sanitation is more important. But, even in places like, I've heard of no big epidemics going through the homeless communities in this, George. And I don't think there's any place you could find worse sanitation than in the homeless communities. Doesn't seem to be going rampant through there.
Yeah, well, viruses do what viruses do, and I'm not sure we can beat them at that. But interesting, you mentioned whether or not it's appropriate to call it the Chinese virus or the Wuhan virus. The Washington Post, however, it does refer to the virus's new strains as the British new strain and the South African new strain. So evidently it's only racist if you refer to a communist Chinese regime.
You're being racist when you say it's the British strain, or my God, George, I'm going to have to take you off the show for being such a racist.
I know.
I mean, you might
get us banned,
but my gosh, George, incredible. One of the executive orders repealed the ban on transgenders. We talked about that, and Can you set up that crystal ball of George Landreth and talk about maybe some of the other executive orders that are coming down the pike?
I'm afraid I might give them ideas.
George, if you have the ideas, I'm sure they already have the ideas.
Yeah, sadly, you're right, because they've probably, But anyhow, bottom line is, I think we're going to see a lot more in the environmental realm, the Green New Deal sort of things. Mm-hmm. I think, regulatory things, they're going to try to do, they'll use as much power as they can to ram their agenda down our throat sideways.
Well, this
is not ending tomorrow.
What I think we need to do, if we had any intestinal fortitude at all, we would use the courts just like the Democrats used the courts to try to thwart Donald Trump's executive orders. Remember the travel ban? How many times that was taken to court? Before it finally ended up in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court said Donald Trump is right. He's got the right to do this. That travel ban probably was more effective in stopping the Wuhan flu than all the masks in all the world put together, George.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Broken AC, $4,600. Water heater, $1,500. Fridge on the fritz, $1,000. You need home warranty coverage from the Home Service Club for around $1 a day. If any of your covered appliances and systems break down, HSC will either repair or replace them.
HSC provides coverage of up to 47 different appliances and systems in your home.
I trust HSC.
HSC has over 15,000 pre-screened, highly rated technicians with the fastest response time in the industry. They cover everything from ACs, stoves, fridges, pool pumps, and more. Call the number on your screen now for a free no-obligation quote from a trusted HSC specialist about a home warranty for your entire home, backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get 1 month free plus $75 off your first year of coverage. 1 month free and $75 off your first year. The Home Service Club.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and zero deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show, carrying the AUN TV network, the Conservative Commandos radio network, and of course, if you're not near one of those broadcast towers, never fear, because Al Gore's amazing internet comes to the rescue. You can truly get us everywhere. Well, maybe not China, North Korea, Iran. But that's because their regimes don't want you to hear about dangerous things like freedom. But anyhow, I'm George Landreth. I'm one of the Conservative Commandos co-hosts today, and I am very pleased to introduce our guest, Steve Milloy. He is he's the founder of junkscience.com. He also served as a member of the Trump-Pence EPA Transition Team. So he knows a little something about this stuff. But, Steve, the Joe Biden has spent this week telling us how all these existential threats, all this stuff's getting so bad. We got to act right now. It's, the earth is going to end. I almost got the feeling that he was saying that AOC was wrong, that it's not 10 years. Well, now I guess 8 years. It's even less. It might be like next week sometime. So I thought having you on to set us straight and give us real science, not the junk science, would be really helpful. So welcome to the Conservative Commandos, first of all, and thanks for joining us.
George, thanks for having me back.
So how do you respond to, blue-collar Joe?
Right.
Moderate Joe.
So although today is Climate Day, Blue-Collar Joe got started last week when he was inaugurated. And on his first 2 days, Blue-Collar Joe killed about 80,000 high-paying blue-collar jobs when he revoked the permit for the Keystone XL pipeline and also stopped new drilling, new permitting of oil and gas on federal lands. So
of course, that'll fix all the global warming, right? I mean, because now we're going to put that gas on either trains or trucks or something.
Well, the funny thing
so
is,
even more CO2.
Yeah, I mean, there are already pipelines being built, other pipelines from Canada coming into the U.S. that are going to more than double the amount of oil coming from the tar sands, so the oil sands in Canada into the U.S. So KXL doesn't really make a difference. But you raise a good point. What can't come in through KXL is going to come in either by trucks or by trains. So the oil is coming here no matter what. It's just going to come here slower. And if emissions do freak you out, well, there's going to be more emissions because that's what trains and trucks do versus pipelines.
Yeah, and more derailments every now and then because trains sometimes do that, and it'll spill all over the place. So it was a very environment-friendly decision.
Yeah, well, actually, even if we did stop the oil from coming in, Canada is not going to leave that in the ground. They have trillions of dollars of wealth in their oil sands, and they would just build a pipeline and ship it out to Asia via their west coast. So, what's being gained? There's nothing being gained.
Yeah, I was going to say, who benefited by that decision? I think I can name a few. Perhaps the Chinese.
Yeah.
Probably the Saudis and probably the Russians. And I don't have anything against the Saudis, but I do have something against the Russians and the Chinese because they both have nuclear weapons pointed at us.
Well, but so far everything Joe Biden has done, militates to make us dependent on OPEC again. And I don't want to be dependent on OPEC because with OPEC, we're going to have $8, $10 gas, and that's just going to crush our economy. Last time we were dependent on OPEC was during the Bush administration, and we had $6 gas. Well, there's a lot more demand in the world now for oil, and if we're not going to, frack it here, there's going to be a lot less supply, and prices are going to go way up. And OPEC is going to like that, and even big oil is going to like that.
Yeah. And Russia is going to like that a lot. I mean, I would argue that one of the chief ways to hem in Putin and his troublemaking tendencies is to keep the price of oil low, because that's about all they got. I guess they got a little caviar and vodka too, but their economy is disproportionately dependent. They're not a well-diversified economy. They're desperately hooked on the price of oil, and right now they're limping along, surviving, but they are not thriving. And they'll thrive at $6 or $7 a gallon gas.
Right. I mean, fracking has crushed the price of oil. In April of last year, amid COVID, the price of oil actually went negative for a brief period, not only because of fracking, but because Russia and Saudi Arabia were, battling over what their production quotas should be. So fracking has been a real game changer. And Joe Biden is just going to fritter that away to, I guess, please his green constituency, or maybe he really is a climate communist, who knows. But, it's going to be terrible for the United States, terrible for our national security. It's going to reduce our standard of living. It's not going to make a difference in the climate. It's just all pain, no gain. And we'll see what happens, I guess.
One of the things I think is interesting, and if I have this fact wrong, please correct me, but bottom line is we pulled out of the Paris Climate Accord. The rest of the world said that shows a real disinterest in cleaning up, and yet we, during the Trump years, with the growing, vibrant economy up until COVID hit, substantially decreased our CO2 emissions, which is not necessarily pollution, but still, we're obviously doing very well there too. We've been doing. And one of the reasons was fracking, because fracking produces a huge quantity of natural gas.
Yeah. Well,
and
George,
so it seems to me what you're really saying to the world is we're not serious about climate change because we don't want to burn natural gas. We'd rather burn something else like coal or whatever. I'm not against coal, but my point is their stuff makes no sense. It's like if you take them seriously, it makes your head hurt.
Yeah, well, it's not fracking was one of the reasons. Fracking was the reason, because we reduced our emissions because of, the Obama administration basically destroyed the coal industry, cut the coal industry or coal burning in half in the U.S. And the only reason we could do that and, not die cold death or hot death someplace is because of fracking, because, the utilities could easily switch to natural gas. And, I'm not worried about emissions, but I realize there are other people, other misinformed people, so they're worried. You would think that they would be for fracking, because if you could export fracking to, say, Germany and other coal-burning countries, you could really reduce their emissions. But people,
China too. I mean, China is burning so much coal right now; they're the chief polluter. And CO2, of course, isn't pollution. It's just, like you and I are exhaling it.
Yeah.
It's part of life. Like people who wish there was no CO2 are wishing away not just our world as we know it, they're wishing away life.
That's right.
Right. Life is not possible without carbon.
Well, yeah, carbon dioxide is plant food. We are having record agricultural production now because of the slight warming that has occurred over the past, 50, 60 years, plus the extra CO2 in the atmosphere. There's no reason to think that trend is going to stop. And, there's billions more people coming on the planet. We're going to need to have more food, and people are going to need places to live and jobs and transportation. And all this comes from fossil fuels. People don't realize that there's nothing that happens in our world today without fossil fuels. You can't build a wind farm. You can't build a solar farm. You can't build a nuclear plant. You can't build a dam, whatever. You can't do anything without fossil fuels. There's just simply no substitute.
Makes sense. There's a lot of energy. It's very concentrated. I mean, windmills always crack me up because it's like, great, so we can have power when the wind's blowing. But if the wind's not blowing, no power. Or in the case of solar panels, you can have power when the sun's up and it's not cloudy. And, I live in Virginia and we get a fair amount of rain and there are a fair number of cloudy days. So I'm trying to figure out how many days a year we would have enough sunlight to make and I don't just mean for some, maybe you have a cabin in the woods and you need a, charge a battery system so you can charge your phone and have a few rudimentary LED lights in the cabin or something. That's fine, whatever. I'm talking about powering a first world economy. How do you do that on batteries?
Well, you can't. And I was listening to Joe Biden today talk about his climate plan, and he's talking about how wind and solar are just so much cheaper than coal. And so I looked at I'm in Maryland, you're in Virginia, Biden was in Washington. So I'm looking at the Mid-Atlantic Power Grid, which supplies us electricity. Today, in the middle of the day, about 2% of our electricity is coming from wind and solar. The rest is coming from coal, natural gas, and nuclear power. And I'm thinking okay, Joe, so you're saying that wind and solar is just so much cheaper than everything else. Are these people that run the grid idiots? I mean, do they not know that? Are they just burning coal because they got extra money?
They always play that dumb game, and it cracks me up because, yeah, sure, the wind is free. You don't have to pay for the wind. And the sunlight is free, and you don't have to pay for that. But guess what? Turbines are not free. They're very expensive, and you can go around and look, even with the subsidies and so forth. The electricity that is produced by wind costs more. And electricity produced by the sun also costs more, even though the sun is free, because and so it seems like they're just dishonest or stupid or both. I don't know.
Yeah, and you can't even control wind and solar. In Germany they have this problem. They've got so much wind, they actually have to pay other countries to take their wind power because they just produce so much of it, and it would wreck their grid. So I worked in the coal industry for a number of years, and I'm an all of the above guy. Whatever makes sense. But that is not what's driving our policy. What's driving our policy is this irrational need to eliminate carbon dioxide and put the government in charge of everything we do. And it's an insane policy.
Absolutely, it is. Well, Steve, we are up against the break, but I'm glad you can stick around because there's more to discuss. And sadly, for the next few years, we're going to have to be having this conversation a lot because there's some craziness going on. You got some nutty people there. But just to our listeners and our viewers, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth. He's Steve Milloy. And we will be right back. But if you missed any part of the show, or you want to get a rebroadcast, or you want your friends to see what Steve's been talking about, ccrshow.com is the place to go.
Attention homeowners, do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50?
Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show and television show. Of course, AUN TV network, the Conservative Commandos radio network, and Al Gore's amazing internet. I'm George Landreth, and we are here with Steve Milloy. Really glad, Steve, that you could stick to the break because there's a lot more to discuss. This first week has been a real whirlwind, this last week of just all the crazy stuff that's been going on. And so I thought maybe we could just look at a couple things that people have said and done and people that are in place and ask you to respond to, but they have, if they're good or bad news. But don't just say bad, because you could just say bad right now, and we'd just have to stop the interview. We'll talk specifics and why they're bad. But Joe Biden was talking about severe weather events. He specifically talked about hurricanes being so much worse now than they were before. Forest fires are way more, and just everything's getting worse, and it's all because of climate change. And I wanted to ask you, is he factually telling the truth, or is that just complete fabrication and a lie?
Yeah, I think this is uniformly false claims. Let's take hurricanes, for example. We know that the most active hurricane season occurred between, I think it was 1772 and 1781. Over the past 500 years, that was the most active hurricane season. And that was way before coal plants and SUVs. We know that hurricanes come in.
Ships were wind power back then, so I think maybe wind power did it. Don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. Hurricanes come in cycles. Joe Biden must have forgotten that during the Obama administration, we were in the middle of a hurricane drought. There were no landfalling hurricanes in the U.S. Yeah. And so, we had a couple of years where there's been, quite a number. And okay, so what? That's the way the weather goes. As far as the wildfires, California, we know from California's natural history that California goes into periods of extended drought. And over the past 1,100 years, California has had, mega droughts that have lasted as long as 200 years. So for all we know, right now, California is in another mega drought that could last 200 years. And what that means to me is that, if Gavin Newsom and the Democrats and the federal government don't get out to California and start cleaning up those public lands, California is going to burn until there's nothing left to burn, because the drought could last, for practical purposes forever.
Makes sense. I for a period of time I lived in California, and kind of down near LA, and as I recall, spring there is very early. It's like in February timeframe. Things grow rapidly, and you see the mountains and all the hills are covered in green. And quite frankly, by the end of March, it's all yellow and dried out because it's hot and it doesn't rain as much. And and then all of a sudden, when you have a fire start, it spreads until all that formerly green stuff burns. And I don't understand how the argument that in 100 years we might be a degree or two warmer is making those get worse. That's just like, that's nature. But I wanted to ask you that other question though, because they keep telling us that the climate's going to, it's going to get so hot, it's going to ruin everything, and they've always been wrong, if I recall. So let's talk a little bit about their track record, because we're not talking about science when they tell you what the temperature can be in 100 years. They're just making a prediction. Yep. I've got a prediction as to who's going to win the Super Bowl for the next 100 years. So my question is, are we going to bend public policy to my prediction and pretend it's science, or are we going to just go, yeah, George, that's cool?
Yeah, I've got a couple pieces up on junkscience.com under the moniker Wrong Again. And most recently I did a Wrong Again 2020 edition where I looked at climate predictions for 2020 that didn't come true. And the first one I have there is one from NASA, climate bedwetter James Hansen, who in 1980 or so predicted that temperatures today would be 3 or 4 degrees centigrade higher than they actually are now. We've had we've had 90% less warming, basically, than he predicted. So that's just one example of how wrong they've been.
So give or take 90%. Okay, that's a pretty big margin of error, but okay. If you give me that margin of error, I could be right about everything.
Well, yeah, no, he was wrong by an order of magnitude. So there's been 0.4 C warming. He predicted 4 C warming. So, that's a big mistake.
No, you're right. That is a big mistake. So I'm trying to figure out why now, and every year they have to ratchet down their predictions, and then they want us to believe that next year they'll be right. And I just think that's nuts. It's like, I'm sorry, you've been wrong every single year now for, 40 years? But all of a sudden...
Yeah, you can't emphasize that enough, George. They have been wrong about everything. The guy that wrote The Population Bomb in 1967, Paul Ehrlich, who's a member of the National Academy of Sciences and still a professor at Stanford University, you'd think he's a smart guy. He predicted that by 1989, humanity would just go up in a blue cloud of steam.
Did that happen?
No, I'm still here.
I'll have to go look outside. I may have missed it.
No, it's astounding. It's astounding. Some of the other, humorous wrong agains I have, they had to remove the signs at Glacier National Park saying that this glacier will be gone by 2020 because they're still there.
Yeah. There you go. Oh, well. Accountability, it's a bummer. Now, John Kerry, if I recall correctly, was quoted as basically being super gung-ho about getting back in the Paris Climate Accord, but then pointed out it wouldn't really matter anyhow. And I'm trying to figure out why is he excited about it, or why does he think it's a good move?
Yeah, so when the Obama administration signed on to the Paris Climate Accord in 2015, Kerry gave this long, acceptance speech. I don't know how else to describe it. And in the acceptance speech, he says that, the U.S. can cut its emissions to zero. All industrial countries can cut their emissions to zero, and it's not going to make a difference. So fast forward 5 years, here we are, and John Kerry wants us to get back in the illegal Paris Climate Accord, which Joe Biden plans to do, and cut emissions. And so what's changed? Nothing has changed. Cutting emissions is going to do nothing.
So originally the claim was to people who worked at the XL pipeline or worked in the oil and gas industry was you losing your job is going to save the world. And what John Kerry let the secret of the bag is you losing your job makes no difference, except for to you, of course.
Right.
You losing your job ruins your life, but for the rest of us, it gives us no benefit at all.
Right. And then add that to, our president, Blue Collar Joe. First thing. Killing blue-collar jobs. The first thing. It's incredible. High-paying blue-collar jobs. Dead. Gone.
Yeah, that's crazy. Real quick, let's talk about we've got a new transportation secretary coming soon. I'm not sure if they've been approved yet or not, but I'm sure they will be shortly. New energy secretary. And it seems to me that they are equally a little just like, really? This is our best and our brightest on these issues?
Yeah. So Mayor Pete Buttigieg, I call him Marxist Pete, looks like he's going to be Secretary of Transportation. He, made it out of committee vote 21-3. I'm trying to figure out, who are the Republicans that are voting to confirm Pete Buttigieg as Department Secretary of Transportation? I mean, that's a pretty tough job. He has
but he did drive. Didn't he ride a train as a child? I think he said he did.
I think
For the record, I had a train set as a child, so I think I should be the next transportation secretary.
It's really incredible. So experience and competence doesn't matter. I mean, he didn't even do a very good job in South Bend, this little town, and he's going to control the nation's airways and railways and highways. And with climate as the focus, are these people serious? What are they smoking?
There you go. How about energy?
So energy, we're going to have former Michigan Governor Jennifer Granholm. Now, what her job is mainly going to be, because climate is the central, it's the center of Biden's domestic policy. She's going to be handing out billions of dollars of taxpayer dollars to the next Solyndras. When she was governor of Michigan, she handed out money to 434 different, green job sort of projects. Only 2 of them met their jobs quotas. So, and one guy she gave money to was an embezzler, convicted embezzler. So I'm just looking forward to, another 4 years of Solyndra, Fisker Automotive, and whatever other financial fraud can occur. And, as an aside, Department of Energy controls our nuclear weapons labs. She has no experience or expertise in that, but she's going to be Secretary of Energy.
So she's never ridden unlike Pete Buttigieg, who's rode a train. She's never ridden a nuclear weapon.
She's never pressed the button.
Yeah. Well, Steve, my last question, and I know this one's not going to be a stumper for you, but I just want you to tell our viewers and our listeners how they can follow the good work that you do, so they can be up on these things and follow up and share it with their friends and favorite you and follow you.
Okay, so my website is junkscience.com. I'm also, I still do a lot of work on Twitter because I have not yet been kicked off. I cannot understand why, but you can get me
not for
at
lack of trying.
That's right.
You're pretty politically incorrect.
Yes, I try to be.
So what'd you say it was on Twitter again?
At Junk Science.
At Junk Science. Excellent. Well, I appreciate you spending this time with us, Steve. It's been great to have this conversation, for you to set us straight, because the media is definitely not going to do this job. So I'm glad we have you around to do it for us. But I do want to remind our viewers and listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth. He's Steve Milloy, and the Conservative Commandos will be right back, so don't go away.
Mom, thank God you're gonna be okay.
So relieved. But you both should know when my time comes, I have a final expense policy with Senior Care USA.
Is Senior Care USA the life insurance policy that helps loved ones pay for funeral expenses and other debts? Bill and I called to get more information.
Yes, and there's an immediate payout of up to $50,000.
If you're over 50, call Senior Care USA now to learn more about final expense insurance plans.
There's no medical exam, even if you have a pre-existing condition like I do. When I called, the quote was free, and there was no pressure.
I found out that policies start for as little as 35 cents a day. Rates will never increase and coverage won't decrease.
I'm gonna call today.
Ask about the free prescription discount card. Oh, I'm so glad you'll be taken care of.
Call 1-800-822-7419. That's 1-800-822-7419.
But is it? It's really just the beginning, right? Have you written a book and want it published but don't know where to start? You're not alone. Page Publishing cuts through the confusion that most new authors face, like copyright protection, barcodes, printing, and digital uploading. We will get your book into bookstores now. We guide you through the publishing maze and help you distribute and sell your work in hard copy and ebook formats. That's right. We will digitize and place your book for sale on Amazon, Apple iBooks, and Google, offering it to millions. Don't waste another minute. Most publishers won't even look at new author submissions, but we're different. We review your book and provide you feedback in about a week. If we decide to publish your book, your work ends and ours begins. From copy editing and proofing to typesetting and book cover art, our team gets you into bookstores fast.
Call 1-877-461-5033.
Does your current bathroom need to be updated immediately? Introducing One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling, the complete and hassle-free way to get the new bathroom of your dreams in as little as 1 day and for as little as $199 a month. Yes, the experts at One Day Bath and Shower Remodeling will come to you anywhere in the country and show you all the customized options. Now you can have a brand new bathroom in as little as 1 day. Large or small bathrooms, if you want a new bathtub or shower installed, we can do it in as little as 1 day. And if you call right now, you can save $750 off your remodel. We make it easy by offering you financing as low as $199 per month. So for as little as $199 a month, you can finally have the bathroom of your dreams. Call now to schedule your free in-home consultation.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show, thanks to the AUN TV network, that's the America Uncensored News Network, and of course the Conservative Commandos radio network, and then of course if you're not near one of the many broadcast towers, Al Gore's amazing internet comes to the rescue. It's so thoughtful of him to do that. We truly are everywhere. Not North Korea, China, Iran. But that's because the regimes there think, freedom is dangerous. But everywhere else, we're truly there, and we're glad you're here with us. I'm George Landis, one of your Conservative Commandos hosts today, and I am very pleased to introduce a member of the Conservative Commandos family, Dan Gainor. He's the Vice President for Business and Culture at the Media Research Center. He's a veteran editor. You've seen his stuff. You've seen him. He's ubiquitous. He's everywhere because he's got important things to say, and he says it well. And that's why you've heard him. That's why we have him on Conservative Commandos so much, because the truth is, if we had him on every day, it wouldn't be quite enough. But with that, Dan, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos.
Thank you. I will make the obscure reference for Frank Zappa fans and say I am Studebaker Huck. I am everywhere. No one else will get that, and no, it doesn't matter. My brother Tom is a Zappa fan, so I used to have to listen. I was never a big fan, but
fair enough. But you know about it. So, well,
I am up in arms today.
Well, the news. I mean, let's be honest. We are going to the next 4 years. We're going to see some really odd stuff. The last 4 years, what we saw was the attack dog media that was relentless, and of course they were going after Trump. Didn't matter for what for. They were even willing to make stuff up. I don't think we're going to see that in the next 4 years.
No, what we're seeing is what I coined just moments ago when I was talking to you, the Stalinization of the press. Now, for people who aren't really familiar with the old Soviet Union, they had this real particular way of controlling the narrative. They changed history. Now, I mean, I'm not talking about change history going forward. They changed history going backward. So, when Joseph Stalin, he'd appear in public with somebody he liked, and then he later on didn't like the person. The person did something bad. He wanted to kick the person to the curb, or quite literally put an ice pick in his head. Then he became a non-person. The photos, you had a photo of Stalin with his arm around somebody, and the person went away. And they put somebody else there.
They didn't have Photoshop back then, so how'd they do it?
They did it manually with various very experienced photographers who would manipulate it, and then they would go back in books and republish books, tear out pages, remove things, replace pages in books. It was astonishing the skill that they had before the internet. Now we've got the internet, and now we've got the mainstream media where they're anything but mainstream. And so there have been several incidents recently that are like this, that are startling because they're all happening, shocking, since Donald Trump lost. Wonder why that is. So the most obvious, and I give the people from Reason.com credit for finding this one, the Washington Post did a story back in 2019 about Kamala Harris. Nice, wonderful profile of her when she was running for president, back when no one wanted to see her get elected, except, of course, for the press, Silicon Valley, and Wall Street. So basically, that was her entire constituency. And it stayed that way pretty much for the entire time she ran. Well, she had this anecdote in the story where they asked her about, something that was a treat. And she said, I'll tell you what a real treat is. And then she mimicked a prisoner in prison asking for more food and more water, and did it in a sort of mocking Dickensian voice, British accent, and then laughed, cackled, because she has almost a Hillary Clinton-esque cackle about her.
And she cackles all the time. It's kind of like her default. If she doesn't know what to say, she just laughs.
She just cackles, yes. So this appeared in the story, and really, it's embarrassing because essentially Kamala Harris, her career, she was a narc. She locked up young African-American males and sent them to prison for minor drug offenses. Now, that doesn't play well with the Democratic leftist caucus and Black Lives Matter. So the Washington Post decided to re-edit the story, remove the embarrassing anecdotes and replace them, redo the entire story, a 2019 story, not even a 2020 story. They went back in to something from a year and a half ago, back to 2019, to change it so that in the future, opposition researchers can't find it. And then when called on it by Reason, their response was, well, there's the print copy still available. The print copy? Who has the print copy?
The print copy is still available.
I work for an organization that holds the media's feet to the fire, and even we only save, I think, like a year running of print copies because they take up enormous space. And one of my coworkers is very good about saving the archive, but I don't think we have the print copy of that. So you got to go to a library or the Library of Congress, because similarly, if they got rid of it, they got rid of it on their website. They got rid of it in LexisNexis. So it simply doesn't exist unless you go to a print copy or you go to microfilm. If you're sitting home right now, I want you to mentally raise your hand. You don't have to actually raise your hand because I can't see it. Mentally raise your hand the last time you used microfilm. For me, it was, I think, like 5 or 6 years ago at the Library of Congress looking up. Actually, no, it's longer than that now. Like 9 years ago at the Library of Congress. Not something we do every day. So basically, they just set fire to all the copies and replaced them with new copies. That's only one example. The Washington Post, did this once before. They did a profile of Robert Kennedy Jr., who's a big climate change weenie, but he's also an anti-vax guy. So they did this style section profile, and then they got a lot of heat for it, and that also went into the great memory hole, that, according to the Orwell term, and just forgotten history. And so that's gone too. Then I saw the documentary Weiner, about Anthony Weiner. For everybody forgets how important he was. A huge rising star. He crashed and burned because he did all sorts of awful things in his personal life. So he was, trying to make a comeback, running for mayor of New York, and it really looked good. I mean, he was incredibly charismatic. He's married to Huma Abedin, who was the top aide for Hillary Clinton. And so I'm watching this documentary. Of course, in the course of the documentary, he crashes and burns again because he's sexting some young woman, and his, it all ends up in disaster. But in the middle of that, they show information about the wedding between the two of them. Who do you think performed the ceremony? Bill Clinton. So Bill Clinton performed. So I'm watching this movie, this wonderful documentary, amazing documentary, and I'm going, I don't remember Bill Clinton performing the ceremony because it was just lost to history. So I come home that night and go on the internet looking for photos from the wedding, because there's a photo in the movie. All of the photos of the wedding have been redacted all across the internet. Everybody I could find that did a story on it, the photos are removed. There's still blanks on the web pages, but the photos are removed because the Clinton administration or their buddies or somebody reached out to all these press outlets to take down the photos. So being the guy I am, I had one of my staff write a story about this, watch the documentary, lift an image from the documentary, which we can do because it's, because we're only doing a screen grab. We do it, we run it. And now that anytime you see an image of the wedding of Huma Abedin and Anthony Weiner being married by Bill Clinton, it comes from us. People just copied our image. I knew we had won back in the old days when before Drudge had sold out the right and backstabbed us so badly. I knew we won when he was using our image. It's like, okay.
Yeah, no, that's funny.
But it goes on from there. Over the weekend, ABC News did a story where they run a quote from Senator Schumer, Chuck Schumer, top Democrat. Well, the other day on the floor of the Senate, he had referred to, instead of election, he used the word erection, which for those of you old-time Saturday Night Live fans, you remember Emily Atella doing the same, except she was not a senator. So ABC cut and pasted a quote together that didn't embarrass it.
So he just said insurrection.
Yeah. And then not to be outdone, Newsweek, which has been on a jihad against Senator Tom Cotton, falsely accusing him of claiming had been a Ranger, saying he hadn't been, when in fact he had been. He'd gone to Ranger school, passed, so he qualified to be known by that. All sorts of former military and current military people coming out saying, oh, that's entirely legitimate to call him a Ranger. They had written a story back in 2015 that contradicts their news story. They went back and changed the story from 2015 so that they're in sync. So that's 5 examples of the Stalinization of the press involving ABC, Washington Post, Newsweek, and other outlets. I am just astonished that this is where we are for journalism.
Yeah, that's stunning to me when you look at that and you think to yourself, we're playing the games that one of the 20th century's most heinous leaders, that was his MO. Why would we want to copy his MO? That's just amazing.
We don't, because we're sane, rational, and ethical.
Well, right. I just mean the media.
None of those things.
Yeah.
I mean, when you start redacting history, you are exactly Stalin. You are exactly what Orwell warned about. There's no dancing around it. When you are changing history, it's like when a certain Olympic gold medal decathlon person, Bruce Jenner, decided to transition, and all sorts of outlets went around and said, "Oh, well, Caitlyn Jenner won the decathlon." No, Caitlyn Jenner did not. Bruce Jenner did.
Yeah.
You can change, you're allowed to change your name, and apparently in our society allowed to change your gender, but that is a forward-thinking event.
Yeah, it doesn't change the past.
The moment you change your name, you change your name going forward. You don't change your name in history.
Yeah,
but they're so politically correct that they insist now that, Bruce Jenner was always Caitlyn Jenner. In his heart, it was really her heart. So now, if you've witnessed, because we were talking about this leading in, we were talking about the actress Ellen Page, who became Elliot Page. And the stories written about this transition were written in such a way that they basically said Elliot Page just, transitions. Well, then, is Elliot Page becoming Ellen Page? That's the way they were wording it. You couldn't tell who's becoming what.
Yeah, what direction they were going. Well, Dan, we are up against the break, and so we've got to take a quick break here. Sometimes the clock's our enemy, but I do want to remind our listeners and our viewers, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth. He's Dan Gainor, and we will be right back. But if you missed any portion, you want your friends to see it, go to ccrshow.com, get a rebroadcast there. It's all there, but we'll see you on the flip side.
Everybody wants cheap airfare, but where do you find it? You call low-cost airlines. Their prices are direct from the airlines, and they're so low you can't find these fares published anywhere. They specialize in cheap flights, discount hotel rooms, cheap car rental rates, and great package deals anywhere around the world. Wherever you want to go, they can help you get there cheaply and with a best price guarantee. If you want the lowest prices on your airline tickets or other travel services, call now. That's right, call. That's the only way to get these rates. Experts are standing by 24/7 to get you the cheapest airfare and hotel rates available. So don't wait. Call right now for the lowest travel prices anywhere and for great last-minute travel deals too.
Call 888-431-0562. That's 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562. 888-431-0562.
Dish TV is better than cable TV. Here's why. Dish has the nation's lowest TV price, along with an award-winning DVR that can skip commercials, record 8 shows at once, and get access to thousands of movies at your fingertips. Cable simply can't even compare. So the smart choice is to cut the cable and get Dish. Plus, you get all these great TV features, free HD DVR upgrade, free installation, and free movie channels. Say goodbye to cable and get more with Dish TV. 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. As an added bonus, you can switch to Dish now and receive a $50 Visa gift card. So call now and get Dish TV. Call 877-290-7764, 877-290-7764. That's 877-290-7764. Limited time offer, 24-month commitment and credit qualification required. Cancellation fee, monthly equipment fees, and other restrictions apply. Promotion can change at any time.
Friend, do you remember when it felt good to withdraw your cash from the bank to expand a business, go on vacation, or buy a new car? Well, today, withdrawing your own cash has become a very risky business, according to The Secret War, a shocking new research report. I just read it. And folks, I was amazed to learn why banks are now required to spy on us for the government and then report any suspicious or unusual behavior. I suggest you get The Secret War free. Just call the number on the screen, no charge, from the folks at Swiss America, and get this. Did you know simply spending cash today may be enough to have you branded as a potential criminal? That's right. The new war on cash is really a war against all freedom-loving Americans. The Secret War is yours free, so call the number on the screen and you can tell them Pat Boone gave you the number.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos, the radio show and the television show, thanks to AON TV Network, the Conservative Commandos Radio Network, and Al Gore's amazing internet. I'm George Landreth, and I am here with our guest, Dan Gainor, who's the Vice President for Business and Culture at the Media Research Center. We've been having a great conversation about the media, and for the first half of our conversation, Dan, you were kind of talking about, from an historical perspective, how the media is corrupting history. How are they corrupting current events? Because I don't think they're just content to make history false.
Well, it's a twofold. They got a twofold strategy, and side one is they are being lapdogs to the administration. They're the PR department. Biden could come out tomorrow and fire everybody's press secretary, and just have her go up there and lie or say she'll circle back with different press people, and they'll be thrilled. Because she's not Kayleigh McEnany kicking their butt, and so that's fine. She could tell them anything, and they won't care. So on that way, they're so fully in the tank for the Biden administration. Keeps calling the Obama administration mentally, because it is. It is year 9 of the Obama administration. We are a part of abomination.
Yeah, except worse, it seems.
And then the flip side is how much at war they are with the right, still with Trump, how much insane garbage they will allow. So so
you're saying they're not serious about unity?
Yeah, they're serious about unity. They want everybody in jail and that they disagree with, and then we'll have unity.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out. I have a different dictionary because they keep using the word unity, and I don't think they know what that word means.
Yeah, I've been using a line from one of the Avengers movie. You say unity, I think you mean the other thing. And it's a Samuel L. Jackson line. He certainly delivers it better than I do. But he's Samuel L. Jackson. That's why he gets the big bucks. So there's this group of despicable slime called the Lincoln Project. I mean, it's just an affront to Abraham Lincoln.
Indeed.
And they've been jihading against Trump and any of his supporters. Well, one of them is Rick Wilson, who's now a Democrat who used to theoretically be a Republican, and because he used to be a Republican, he's basically one of the reasons why the establishment GOP hated their voters, because he hates Republicans. He hates actual grassroots people and despises them. So they were interviewing him on.
These are the people who believe that, for example, you can smell them when you go to the store.
Yeah. So he was on with Brian Williams the other day. So now here we are talking about trying to tone down the rhetoric, because that's what we got to do in the country. So they talk to him, and here's what he says about Josh Hawley, because the left is really out to get Josh Hawley now too. Well, sadly we've done away with the horsewhipping in this country, but what I think should happen to him is that Josh Hawley needs to be expelled from the U.S. Senate. So he goes on. Josh Hawley's continued to dig the hole deeper. His sedition and his actions he took in the 6th, in particular, to stoke the crowd, to rile up the mob, have now tried to cast himself as this tragic figure. So he says he's disappointed that he can't be horsewhipped. He thinks he should be expelled from the Senate, and he accuses him of sedition, all because he said hello to the mob. That wasn't a mob, it was a bunch of protesters when he said hello to it. He didn't go and exhort people to do anything wrong. There was a legal, constitutionally protected protest. And yet, what do we get from the press? The press are now at war with the people who attended the protest. And I say at war, BuzzFeed comes out and does a story, 28 police officers who attended the protest. Well, it turns out most of them didn't do anything except attend the protest, and they still want to get them fired. They're doing it to teachers who attended the protest and others who attended the protest. That runs in the Washington Post.
Yeah. My question is can we fire all the people who attended the various mostly peaceful protests this summer for 7 months?
Yeah, the Black Lives Matter. You don't see any.
So can we fire them?
Here's what's nightmarish. And I say this, it is a science fiction 1984 level nightmare. Since all these people went to this protest, constitutionally protected legal protest to see the President of the United States, maybe the only chance to get to see him, they're like, oh yeah, go see the President. They've got this Soros-funded outlet, ProPublica, grabbed all the video. They've got all the video posted up there, and they're using sophisticated software to surf the internet for the images of everybody attended, so they know everybody's at the protest. Not everybody who might have broken the law of trespassing in the Capitol, because yes, there are some people who did evil things and should go to prison, but some of the people just wanted to get pictures taken. And I'm 100% certain that's a protest. Okay, give the person a slap on the wrist for trespassing, and they move along. That's what always happens to the left when they invade spaces, when they invade government spaces. Now, like I said, they've got this sophisticated, high-tech way of harassing everybody involved, because when the left goes in protest, mostly what they do is they dress all in nondescript clothing, stuff that you can't identify at all, wear masks, cover their faces entirely so they can't be tracked back. So people who knew they were going to a legal, constitutionally protected protest are now being assaulted by the press, to the point where ProPublica comes out and says that other similar protests where people went and protested at state legislatures, where they, again, at best, trespassed, broke no significant law, nobody was assaulted, nothing like that. They're now saying they attacked those capitals. Attacked? How? Oh, well, they showed up. They were doing in some cases they were carrying guns, because they were making a Second Amendment protest in states where it is legal to carry guns on the Capitol grounds. Now,
Virginia had one of those.
Right, in Richmond, Virginia, the Capitol, they changed the law after they had a protest like this. But the media screamed, "Oh my God, they're going to have 20,000 people with guns," and they did, and no one was harmed, no one was arrested, nothing bad happened.
No one even littered.
Protest. And Virginia still has open carry laws, and so. My late brother and I, we would go out to have breakfast together, go to one of the typical diner places, and we see people come in, got guns on their belt. We didn't care. Nobody ever did anything wrong. Nobody ever broke the law. Virginia has open carry because Virginia has a long tradition of supporting gun rights. But now what they're trying to do is criminalize that, trying to criminalize public protest, trying to criminalize going to a protest event. That's what the media are doing right now.
Wow, it's interesting. I thought the media was for the First Amendment, but I guess not.
Actually, they're not. No.
Only for them, not for anyone else.
And very, very key point, what you just said, only for them. So what they're trying to do actively is trying to deplatform, shut down, intimidate, harass, bully every other outlet now, and it's going to happen to you because they're going after Fox, Newsmax, OAN, podcasts. They want to kick different outlets off. They want to have government regulation go after them. there's some of the people who were just charged. One of the people was just charged criminally, was charged with memeing during the 2016 election. Making funny images. Oh, well, we don't. We think that's that's somehow trying to fix an election.
Yeah,
dangerous stuff. You're going after memers, which now they're doing even in the stock market world. Once you do that, you've basically shown that you have not a leg to stand on in your argument.
That's for sure. The attempt to silence a man is an admission that his thoughts and mind are superior to your own. Dan, how can our listeners and viewers follow the work that you do at MRC? They need to not just hear from you weekly. They need to be able to check in every single day and know what's going on, because the media has a big reach.
Well, they should follow me on Twitter and on Parler when it returns, which hopefully will be soon, at Dan Gainor, DANGAINOR. They should follow newsbusters.org, our wonderful blog. If they want to sign up for our newsletters, or if they want to support us, they should go to mrc.org. And at the same time, I do write regularly for FoxNews.com, and they should look for me there.
Excellent. I do want to remind our viewers and listeners, this is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Lanth, one of the hosts, and he is Dan Gainor, one of our family members and a great guest here at Conservative Commandos. Don't go away. I do want to remind you, if you need a rebroadcast, check out our website, ccrshow.com.
Are you paying too much for your health insurance? Are your deductibles too high? Or are you completely uninsured? If you answered yes to any of these questions, Healthcare Help Desk can help you now when people need help the most. Health insurance laws and rules have changed. If you have Obamacare, are uninsured, or your premiums are too high, call Healthcare Help Desk. It's free. New healthcare plans are available, and you may qualify for dental coverage and lower copays and deductibles. Make the free call now. Top quality coverage at the lowest prices anywhere. You may be paying too much and not even know it. In these troubled times, healthcare is more important than ever. Don't let another day go by without health insurance. Policies are being offered with very low copays and deductibles. So if you're uninsured, underinsured, or paying too much, call Healthcare Help Desk. Learn about your options before it's too late.
Call 800-964-1055. 800-964-1055.
Attention Medicare recipients and anyone turning 65. Medicare has approved new benefits not included with original Medicare and older Medicare Advantage plans. You may not be getting all of the benefits you're entitled to. These new Medicare Advantage plans may have many free new benefits, including in-home aids, telephone appointments with your doctors, home-delivered meals and prescriptions. These benefits may be available, and it's a free call to enroll. The easiest way to enroll is to call the Medicare Benefits Line, a free non-government service. The new plans may also offer free eyeglasses, free hearing aids, free wellness visits, and gym memberships. Call the Medicare Benefits Line now. It's easy. Find out if you're eligible for new benefits like meal and prescription delivery, in-home aids, and telemedicine. Some plans may have a $0 monthly premium or zero copays for big out-of-pocket savings.
Call 800-691-1655. 800-691-1655.
Medicare Benefits Line is not connected with or endorsed by any government agency or the federal Medicare program.
I owed the IRS $10,000.
The IRS garnished my wages.
They put a lien on my house.
I'm self-employed and didn't report all my income. They claim I owe a lot more than I do.
The IRS is the most powerful collection agency in the world. They do not give up until you pay.
I couldn't sleep. We were being audited. I called Tax Solutions Now, and a great big weight was lifted off my shoulders.
I called Tax Solutions Now, and they got the IRS off my back.
Tax Solutions Now had my wage garnishment lifted in 48 hours.
Tax Solutions Now can get you help. Our agents know the rules, can stop the pain, and get you the best deal.
Tax Solutions Now saved my business.
I qualified for the Fresh Start program. I paid less than I owed.
We connect you with a team of former IRS agents and tax professionals who get the IRS off your back. Time is running out. Call Tax Solutions Now.
Call 800-447-7570. 800-447-7570.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos radio show, television show. Of course, we've got the AUN TV network. That's America Uncensored News Network, and the Conservative Commandos radio network. But if you're not near one of the many broadcast towers, never fear. Doesn't matter. Al Gore's amazing internet brings us to you wherever you may be, unless you're in China, North Korea, and probably Iran. because the regimes there don't think much of freedom. They think it's dangerous. But we don't. We're big fans of it here. I'm George Landreth, one of your Conservative Commandos hosts today. I'm glad you're here. I am really pleased to introduce our guest, Tom Donelson. He's the host of the Donelson Files radio program. He's also the president of America's PAC. That's an organization that works to elect conservatives to public office. So we need for him to be really successful. But bottom line is, to get an idea how effective he is, Google has tried to cancel him. Google does not cancel inconsequential people. So that gives you at least a little idea of Tom must be a thorn in their side. So with that, Tom, welcome back to the Conservative Commandos.
Well, thank you. I was glad to be back.
Absolutely. I thought we might talk a little bit about some of the governors and how they've done, and in particular, perhaps one of, I know, your favorites, yours and mine, Governor Cuomo, of course, sarcastically favorite. He's been a disastrous governor, but I think part of it we can maybe meld in or weave into our conversation a little bit of federalism, because the founders really did believe that with federalism, one of the strengths was you'd have these different laboratories of liberty, and different approaches could be taken, and then you'd have the proof in the pudding as to what works and what doesn't work. And lo and behold, federalism has revealed some things to us. So let's have a conversation about our favorite governor.
Well, Andrew Cuomo, like I said, because I rated him the worst governor on Twitter. And what I found, it's interesting, because I don't view, there are certain governors you look at and just say to yourself, how did these guys get elected? You listen to them to try to explain anything. It's like, you can barely put a sentence together, but somehow or another you got elected. Right. But Cuomo is he's a sharp political operator. He's a ship off his old dad's block, except he's more vicious and more nastier and probably more corrupt. And so that, to me, is what I find fascinating, because you look at every set of numbers you can come up with. He's like number 2 in death per capita. He's number 1 in total deaths from COVID. His unemployment numbers are in the bottom 10. So, I mean, he's in the bottom 10 of unemployment as far as, highest. So he's he's got the worst of all the worlds. I mean, and then New York has got an unemployment number approximately probably about 14%. So you basically have managed to screw up the one thing you have going for you, New York City, as a tourist area.
And the financial capital of the world, really.
Financial capital of the world.
Yeah, they should be kind of recession-proof on some level.
They should be, but they managed not to. And part of what they're finding out is how many of these people are just staying in Connecticut or New Jersey, and how many are going to come back to live in New York. I mean, there's already been like a mass exodus of people leaving. So, I mean, he's managed to have every bad record one could hope not to have in this pandemic. And there's a
he's written a book and won an Emmy, and he's getting all kinds of kudos, and you're like, what?
Oh, I was thinking that. I mean, it's like, only in America, where a man can basically fail at everything, write a how-to book and succeed. Especially if you have a D behind your name. But it's like, it's an amazing thing, because it's, he did everything. I mean, part of the problem you can say is, with a densely populated, like New York is, you're going to get hit first. But still, he got hit. I mean, still, there are things he did, like the nursing homes.
Right. And people can say, well, we didn't know that then. And the answer is we did know that then, because Washington State was the first place. And I remember very distinctly that it went through a particular, senior care facility and ravaged, like 100 people or something in no time. So we knew right out of the box that senior citizens were at pretty significant risk.
The other thing to me is because it was based on a premise, well, we have to reserve hospital space, to which what they were really saying is seniors are expendable. If you're in a nursing home, you're expendable. They might as well just put it that way, but there's common sense.
Well, also, they had a ship that was sent to them that they could have used but didn't. And they also had the president sent resources to convert a major, auditorium type facility at the Javits Center, kind of a convention center, turn it into an auxiliary hospital. And they didn't use that. So they're trying to save space, and yet they don't have.
I mean, like I say, to me, it's a common sense approach. But he's not the only one who did it, but he's the one where it's most pronounced because not only did he get caught doing it, and had to retreat from it. He basically changed the rules on how he wanted to. Because if you look at the numbers, it's like 60. They're saying 6,800 nursing home patients died in New York State. Well, it is if you don't count the people who go to hospitals from the nursing home and die there, like the other 45 states.
So they could be 10 minutes from death. They put them in an ambulance, rush them to the emergency room, and now it's magically not a nursing home death.
Not a nursing home death. So,
but that was a rule they changed. When the numbers started getting too high, and he was embarrassed.
Yeah. So he manipulated the data to basically reduce that particular damage. But there's this element of common sense. I mean, somebody would say to you, let me take it even a step further. Rachel Levine, who managed to get herself promoted, she was the health director for the state of Pennsylvania, and now she's working for the Biden administration, and which obviously is a qualification where, I mean, she literally oversaw the same project, but she took her mother out first. She took her mother out of the nursing home, then turned around and then implemented the order. So that tells me somebody knew what was going to happen, and I think part of it
more of not for me, but for thee. Whether it's mask mandates and Pelosi or whatever. Gavin Newsom, don't go out to dinner unless it's me. If my buddies, will go to expensive restaurant. It's just like, you people, come on. The rule of law means it applies to all of us, and yet they pretend that it doesn't.
Well, you understand, George. The rules are meant for the little people. We're the little people. They're the rulers. Which is an interesting kind, because here's the other aspect. One of my first thought is, I would love to be able to have a public official say, I'm not here to rule you. I'm here to be your servant, as the Constitution demands.
Yeah. Right. Now, Senator Wallop used to say that one of his frustrations was there were too many people in government who viewed themselves as your ruler. And he says, at the very most, you're a governor, not that you are like the title governor, but you have the power to govern. But you're not a ruler, not in a democratic republic.
No.
And he said, so the most you could say, hopefully they talk in terms of service. But he said, but when they start talking about ruling and act like they're a ruler, they've slipped into this divine right of kings garbage, and you can see it how they behave. It's their right to govern. They have it coming.
I try to tell my liberal friends. So here's the thing: do you really want a governor to have the ability to declare what is or isn't an essential business? Because that's what we essentially did. They basically took it upon themselves to determine if you are essential or not essential.
Let's think of something that you think we could kind of survive if we didn't have, and say, like, let's say you have a hobby shop or you have a florist shop. My question would be, is that business is essential to at least the family that owns it and runs it, and the families of the employees who make it run. At the very least, it's essential to the people who supply them with things to sell. And so so I don't. In other words, this idea of essential, what do they mean by essential? They must mean like food and medicine and shelter or something. Maybe that's what they mean. I don't know. But that's not a good definition.
The original definition, like grocery stores. But here's the thing: Walmart stayed open.
Yeah.
Their smallest competitors did not.
Right. So. Right. And that's my point, though, is that the reality is whatever business you're in, whatever you do for a living to feed your family and pay your bills and provide them with shelter, that's essential. I mean, maybe Bill Gates' job isn't essential because Bill Gates doesn't have to do it to survive. But for most Americans, we actually can't we can take off a week, we can take off a weekend, we can go on vacation here or there, but we just can't take off for a year.
And this is the point. And go back to, let's say, Cuomo. He and other governors took it upon themselves to, in effect, overrule the there's an aspect of me that says, we're going to tell people, how many can go to church. Well, you're even going to go to church, which is in the First Amendment. And I get, like I say, most of the churches I know were willing to cooperate. I mean, you had my favorite story is the one in Kentucky. I think it was in Kentucky where they went to a drive-in theater, and they still got fined. I mean, they were in a drive-in theater. I mean, how much more can you split?
It's a fair point. It's a fair point. And that's the hostility they have towards religion. We'll pick that up on the other side, because I think there's some real problem there when it comes to religion. This idea that religion is second rate and that it's not worthy of protection, but it's actually in the Bill of Rights. But we are up against the clock, and so we've got to take a quick break. We are still a capitalist country, at least for the time being. We'll see how quickly that may be by executive order mandated to cease in the future, but for now, we still are. This is the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth. He's Tom Donelson. And we will be right back after these messages.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Broken AC, $4,600. Water heater, $1,500. Fridge on the fritz, $1,000. You need home warranty coverage from the Home Service Club for around $1 a day. If any of your covered appliances and systems break down, HSC will either repair or replace them.
HSC provides coverage of up to 47 different appliances and systems in your home.
I trust HSC.
HSC has over 15,000 pre-screened, highly rated technicians with the fastest response time in the industry. They cover everything from ACs, stoves, fridges, pool pumps, and more. Call the number on your screen now for a free, no-obligation quote from a trusted HSC specialist about a home warranty for your entire home, backed with a 30-day money-back guarantee. Call now and get 1 month free plus $75 off your first year of coverage. 1 month free and $75 off your first year. The Home Service Club.
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for dental visits. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for transportation to my doctor. Did you?
I didn't know some Medicare Advantage plans may pay to have my prescriptions delivered directly to my home. Did you?
These and more are important benefits some Medicare Advantage plans may give you. So if you're eligible for Medicare, call us right now, because you may be eligible to enroll in a plan with amazing additional benefits. Some Medicare Advantage plans may pay for services like these: dental visits, vision coverage, hearing coverage, home delivery of drugs, even gym memberships. Some plans may include no copays for many services and 0 deductibles. Don't wait to find out if you're eligible to enroll in a plan that may include some of these wonderful benefits you deserve. Call us right now. The call is free, the information is free, and there's no obligation. Make this free call now to learn if you're eligible to enroll in a Medicare Advantage plan that may include additional benefits you want. Call us right now.
Here's a great way to save money on your prescription medications. If you take Viagra or Cialis, we can give you a way to pay as little as $2 a pill. Compare that to prices as high as $60 per tablet. Call now with your prescription and pay as little as $2 a pill. We offer 24/7 service and always free delivery and confidential packaging. Call Pharmacy Shop 24/7 to get generic versions of Viagra or Cialis for as little as $2 a pill, plus free discreet shipping.
Welcome back to the Conservative Commandos. Glad you stuck around. We've been talking with Tom Donelson, and he is both the host of the Donelson Files as well as the president of America's PAC. And we've been talking about his and my favorite governor. I use the word favorite very loosely. Governor Cuomo, actually mostly sarcastically. But, you know, beforehand we talked, before the break, Tom, you mentioned this idea of religion and how they outlawed it. I'm from Virginia. Our governor made it a crime, punishable by up to a year in jail and a $1,000 fine to attend church early on. You know, I thought to myself, good heavens, this is a guy who didn't even pass 5th grade civics class. Not high school civics. Elementary school civics. You don't have to know a lot of constitutional law to understand that making going to church a crime probably has some constitutional problems, and yet he didn't get it. With all the help he had, he has attorneys on staff, and it just shows me the level of hostility they have towards religion. And if you want to comment on that, you can, but I also want to draw into that conversation this idea of federalism, how we were able to test different approaches. You had different states to different things, and the data's in. So You take whatever of that you want to comment on. Let's go.
I mean, first of all, we need to be looking at what metrics you want to look at. To me, being able to keep an economy going during a pandemic ought to be considered an important metric. We don't even talk about it. But let me give an example here. Okay, think of it this way. I kind of measured it in so many different ways. I had, like I say, Welfare Riley did a study on lockdown versus non-lockdown, and I had them do red versus blue states. And this was a follow-up to a study he did earlier, 4 months earlier, and what he found was exactly that. Lockdown states, the economy had like something like a 40-50% higher unemployment and death total, and still had a higher death total than non-lockdown states. And even red and blue states, there were differential, even among minorities. If you were Black and Hispanic, you were more likely to die in a blue state than a red state. Take a step further, in Andrew Cuomo's New York City, more Hispanics and Blacks died of COVID there than died the entire state of Florida. So, I mean, you can't. To me, the real key element comes into play is that you look at some of these states. Okay, Florida was like 6% unemployment, and there's not one big populous state that you can look at on the Democratic side comparable to Florida that was lower. California, 9%. New York, 8.2%. Illinois actually jumped up last month by 1 percentage points. Pennsylvania stayed at the national average, and they're averaging about 7.8 to about 6% if you took the top populace. Now, if you took the overall all 50 states, you basically have 5% unemployment for red states and about 6.8% for blue states. And if you look at the top 10, 9 out of the top 10 states with the lowest unemployment were Republican, 18 out of the top 25 were Republicans. And it doesn't really matter how you want to look at the numbers. I've seen people look at them different ways. They all come out the same. And to me, the question will be is this. If you have less deaths in red states and by having a less restrictive policy, that should tell you that is the way, that was the correct way to go.
Absolutely. Well, we were told, because I remember talking early on about how we need to open the economy back up, and I was always rebuked as only caring about the almighty dollar, and that there were lives at stake, and that I needed to care more about people's lives. What you're telling me is, and of course I knew that was a canard, when people who are, for example, aren't interested in life on any other issue, only care about it when it's a disease, you know that they're not sincere. It's about government power. It was a political issue. But having said that, step back from that, what it turns out is not only did it not save lives, it cost lives, and then on top of that, you got all the economic devastation, the suicide, the depression, the bankruptcy, the financial ruin. It's like, what's the upside? Yeah. Usually it's it's a trade-off, right?
Well, the theory. I mean, first of all, number one, the first mistake we made is we looked at this as the Spanish flu. If you look at it from a infectious fatality rate, it's about 223 per thousand, which is similar to 1968 pandemic, and certainly 2 or 3 times higher than what we see flu season for the past decade. But even then, that's deceptive because, in 2009, it was like 3 for every 10,000. I mean, it was a very mild flu season. In 2018, we had, maybe 1 point, it was a 0.17 or infection fatality rate, which is not much lower than what we have right now. But the problem we ran into is that we basically kind of shut down everything else to treat a disease, to treat a virus that was going to virus anyway. Virus is going to virus.
Yeah, so, it doesn't work. It's a little bit like people who have hay fever. Pollen's everywhere, and so unless the point is try. And of course, what the difference is that the human body can always absorb a certain or deal with a certain amount of pollen. It's only when you get above a certain level that creates a problem. That's not true with the virus. You run into the virus. You can run into a single virus, just one unit of virus, and you could get it. And sure, your chances are greater if it's more. But I always thought it was kind of odd that they thought they were going to outsmart the virus. It's omnipresent. We can take whatever precautions work.
The first mistake they made is they overestimated lethality. by a factor of 5 to 10. I mean, that was number one. I mean, we were looking at 2 million deaths. I mean, we're about 1/4 of that, or 1/5 of that, and that's with the inflated numbers that they have, in my view. And by the way, when I say inflated numbers, it still means, in my view, at least 200 to 300,000 people died of COVID. But the other problem we're running into, and this is something that some of the public health scientists who were considered skeptic to the lockdown or the continuation of the lockdown, was by having the lockdown, we pushed the virus, we pushed the season into the respiratory season, as opposed to having people in the summer go through and get immunity in the summer, and in the early part of the fall, we pushed it in right into the middle of the respiratory season. So we may have actually killed more people doing that strategy. Again, that's an unknown, but certainly makes a lot more sense than when you're pushing it. It makes sense to somebody say, did we actually end up with more infections by allowing it to go into the respiratory season?
It's a good question. Now, this is my questions. So if you're the governor of New York, you literally have hundreds of healthcare employees working for you. Scientists, doctors, researchers, the whole 9 yards. So how is it that you have all this information at your fingertips and can talk about it reasonably and logically, but Governor Cuomo, who had all that at his fingertips, got everything so wrong and has now spent the last half the year lying about how he got everything wrong, and has been mounting a huge public PR campaign to get himself awards for getting things wrong and killing people?
Well, here's the interesting thing. It's fascinating, like both Newsom and Cuomo are now talking about opening up the economy in their state. Michigan is now going to do that.
Right after inauguration.
So
the science changed overnight.
It changed. But it's not based on the science. And which is one of the problems we are going to have in the future is, and this is to me what I fear far more, is that the scientific class, and we have what I saw the worst leadership class of my generation. And when you have a scientific class that is not willing to discuss or debate, certain people were kept from the literature, or they had a hard time getting published, or they were they were pretty much declared outliers. Even though, and the scientific, we're not, even the Scientific American had a whole article saying, we have to start listening to everybody, because one of the things the skeptics of the lockdown, their question was, wait a minute, before we lock everything down, what's the science actually telling us? I mean, before we shut everything down, people like John Andrew, Scott Atlas, Martin Kolodoff of Harvard, and others were basically saying, before we rush into this, what's the deal? Most people didn't disagree too much with the initial 15 days, which was not designed to stop the virus, designed, let's give our hospitals a chance to adjust.
Yeah, to gear up.
But once we got beyond the 15 days, it continued and it took a life on its own. But it's a good question, because to me, the real question we ought to be asking is, how did many of our scientists get this so wrong? To me, Tony Fauci got more things wrong than he got right.
I know. And now he's telling us to wear 2 masks. It's just like, I mean, he's been on every side of every issue. And it does let you wonder, should we really trust these experts this much, particularly when it comes to destroying our economy and making our nation weaker?
Well, here's the thing, because you understand, this goes right into climate change, into the Green New Deal, because many of the same tactics like modeling and scientific, and that's even worse, where literally, if you're a skeptic, you're not going to get published.
Right.
You're not going to get tenure.
Yeah, because you're a heretic.
You're a heretic.
Yeah.
That's how they treat you. They're not looking for a scientific debate.
Right.
And if we get to that point where it's the science is, we're going to quit debating, we're going to run into far worse disastrous policies than even with this.
Yeah.
I kind of view it this way. WHO and others will say, millions of people, hundreds of millions of people were put to the brink of starvation because of the lockdown around the world. We'll be talking billions with the Green New Deal.
Oh yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, and yet somehow it's good for the environment and good for people. It's crazy stuff. Our time's about up, Tom, but I want to make sure our listeners and our viewers know they can follow the work that you do, because you do a lot of great things, and of course you've got the Donelson Files as well. So fill us in on all things, Tom.
All right, basically, okay, the Donelson Files, you can follow that. Tuesday and Wednesday at 6 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. You call into Blog Talk Radio, 646-929-0130. I do have a website that I don't always keep up like I should, but also America's PAC. You can americaspac527.org or America's Majority, which is AMERMAJ.org. And you can get a lot of our research and studies there as well.
Excellent. That's awesome. Thanks so much, Tom, for spending this time with us. I'm glad we were able to shed a little light on the fraud of a governor that Andrew Cuomo is. You provided a lot of compelling information. Nonetheless, I'm sure that mainstream media will continue to cover for him and tell us how wonderful he is. But it's nice, facts are stubborn things, and you provide a lot of those facts. So we really appreciate it.
I appreciate being on the show.
Absolutely. We're the Conservative Commandos. I'm George Landreth. He's Tom Donelson, and the Conservative Commandos will be right back. Don't go away. But if you want to catch anything you've missed or show it to your friends, never fear. There are rebroadcasts available, sound and television, radio, television. CCRshow.com is the place to go.
Attention homeowners. Do you have a house that's in need of serious repairs? Do you have tenants that never seem to make their monthly payments? How about code violations, past due taxes, or maintenance costs you just can't afford? Then call my friends right now at Quick Cash Offer. They specialize in buying any home, no matter how ugly the situation. Turn that problem property into cash right now. It's just that simple. One call and you can get rid of that home headache forever. They buy the ugliest houses with instant closings, instant cash, and huge savings. Plus, there are no realtor fees, no listing fees, and no repair costs. Just cash in your hands for that painful property. They're buying a few more houses in your neighborhood this month. So take advantage of this cash offer and call Quick Cash Offer now.
855-296-8854. 855-296-8854. That's 855-296-8854.
Listen carefully. If your student loan debt is overwhelming you and things seem hopeless, we've got great news.
If you're still struggling with your student loan debt, there are government programs available that may actually lower your payments by consolidating your federal student loans. Just call us. We'll review your situation and work with you to consolidate your debt. In many cases, depending on your situation, we can lower your monthly payments in half or more. It doesn't matter how much you owe or how far behind you are. Even if you're in default, call us right now to find out how we can lower your payment in half immediately. You can stop the harassing phone calls and the wage garnishments. All you need to do is pick up the phone and call us right now. We can remove your default status, consolidate your federal student loans, lower your payments, and we can do it today. Stop worrying. This is a real solution that can help. So please call us right now.
Call 800-917-8671.
Are you over the age of 50? Want peace of mind and financial security for your family? Here's an important message to you and all seniors from the Final Expense Insurance Hotline. The average funeral costs about $7,000, even more. And the most government benefits will pay your family is only $255. That leaves your loved ones with a burden of paying your debts and funeral costs. Our plans start as low as $1 per day and will pay up to $30,000 for your funeral and other final expenses. There's no medical exam and you'll have lifetime coverage. Plus, your rates will never increase and your plan cannot be canceled regardless of your medical condition, as long as you make your premium payments. Get free information right now. Just answer a few simple questions and get approved right over the phone in just a few minutes. Call right now.
Call 855-221-7334.
Do you have an idea for an invention, but you don't know what to do next?
How do you get in front of companies or get a patent?
Call InventHelp. They've been helping inventors just like you for 35 years.
And thousands of people contact them every month.
With 65 offices, you can meet with an InventHelp representative near you who will keep your idea confidential and explain their invention process step by step. InventHelp has helped over 10,000 inventors get patents. And they offer 3D animations and prototyping services to help demonstrate your idea. InventHelp's exclusive databank includes over 9,000 companies who have agreed to confidentially review new ideas, like yours.
Don't wonder what to do next. Take action right now and get the help you need from InventHelp.
InventHelp. Call today for free information.
800-880-2937. That's 800-880-2937 now.
Well, George, that just about wraps it up for today. Any final thoughts?
Well, I did think of one more thing that Joe Biden might mandate. I think he might mandate unity, because I think unity is very important to him. I mean, I don't think he understands what unity means. I think that he thinks unity means submission, subjugation. But someone needs to update him on because I don't think it means what he thinks it means. But anyhow.
Never can tell. And George, we had 3 great guests on today.
We did. We had Steve Milloy with junkscience.com, a great conversation about climate change issues, the Green New Deal, energy. And then we had Dan Gainor. We talked about, the Stalinization of the media and how they just erase things they don't want to be there to help their friends. And then we had a conversation about the general dishonesty of the media as well. And then, of course, Tom Donelson, and a great conversation about Andrew Cuomo, our favorite governor. Okay, I'm lying about the favorite.
Gavin Newsom, maybe. Anyway. But for right now, we're out of time. We got to run and we got to go. Take care. God bless. And we're going to see you tomorrow on TV and on radio.